Hello crafty friends, I'm Lien from Studio Cato and I'm so happy you're joining me again today. Today was supposed to be another Casual Friday video, but I messed up my posting schedule a little bit. It's also a great coloring video because I am doing some no-line coloring today, and it's been a hot minute since I've done this. I was a little bit out of practice, I'm not gonna lie, but I am going to get right into it. I'm working on some Neenah Dessert Storm cardstock. I think this is the 200 grams, but I threw away the packaging and I can't be sure anymore. I used a square die just to trace it and get a nice outline for my scene, for my little scene there. I just traced it with a pencil and I won't bother with erasing these at any point, just a little part somewhere. But anyway, I'm using the Santa Baby stamp set by Mama Elephant, and I'm stamping one of the images on there with ink on 3 fade out ink, which is perfect for no-line coloring. Now I'm doing something a little bit different than usual. I am doing my masking first, so I will do my background first. In the past, I have done my coloring first always, but with colored pencils, the masking paper, which is, these are just post-it notes that I'm using, but they sometimes pull up a little bit of the colored pencils, so I figured why not do it first? And that way, even if my masking isn't perfect, I can correct it with coloring. I usually do that as an extra step later, but this way I save on that extra step. I can just do my ink blending first, and if I messed up the masking somewhere, I can fill it in straight away while coloring. So I'm also masking off the borders that I traced around that little square die. I'm just using some purple tape. This isn't the real purple tape. This is just some really low-tech painter's tape that happens to be purple, but it's great. And I am using my Distress Oxide inks, on this craft cardstock, which is just a lovely effect you get. These seem to glow on the paper. I really love them. But my blue print sketch ink pad is super wet. It's way too juicy. So I had to wipe off my brush on several pieces of copy paper to get this to not be too bright and too wet on the paper. I'm finishing it off with the chipped Sapphire ink, and the lightest ink I used was Tumbled glass. It's tumbled glass. Sorry. Then the very satisfying part of peeling off the masking. I'm just really carefully removing the tape and then also the masking there. And you can already see that the ink has faded quite a bit. It does that anyway. That's not because I put on the masking first. Now I am erasing the pencil lines where they covered up my image there. But that's all the erasing I'm gonna do. You can kind of see the pencil lines just on the edge of the inking, but it's very little, so I didn't bother trying to erase it. I would have just smudged the ink. Now I'm going in straight with the coloring, and I mentioned that I was a little bit out of practice. The hat is not the greatest coloring that I've ever done, but it's passable, and I fixed it a little bit with the rest of his Santa suit. Now with no-line coloring, the contrast is everything because you don't have lines to define your image. You really have to define your image with the contrast. I talk about that a lot during my no-line coloring videos. And the way I do that with colored pencils, if I want a deep color, which I want the suit to be a deep red, I don't want to go super light on this suit. So to deepen up the shadows, which will also create a darker contrast or a larger contrast instead of going lighter, I do a little bit of coloring with my black pencil first, just very lightly, and then over top of that I go with my darkest red. So that's a great way to deepen up your shadows. It's better to go in with the black first. I know it's scary, just go a little bit lightly with the black there, but it blends a lot better together if you do it first than if you do it last, like I did on the hat there. The skin tone is going to be less noticeable on the craft cardstock, but it's still gonna pop because you have the gray beard and the white trim around the hat going there, around the face. So I don't bother with the face too much on Santa's. Most of it is hidden anyway with facial hair. So there's not a lot of coloring going on there. And for the trim around the hat, for the trim around the suit, all that little white fur, I go in with light grays first and then a lot of white. And then I add a little bit of texture with the gray markers as well. Just some dotting and some stripes there to create a little semblance of fur. I do the same with the beard, but I don't go quite as white with the beard. I leave it a little bit more gray. Now for the facial features, so the little eyes, I will use a black fine liner later to define the eyes, although I will say that using a fine liner on a no-line coloring project is quite scary, so I always go in first with a black pencil to see if I've mapped out the eyes correctly, because you can't really see them after you've colored them in, or colored the face in. So yeah, I do the black pencil first, then the fine liner. I also use a white gel pen here and there on the fur and on his beard to add some highlights. It pops a little bit brighter than the white pencil, so it does make quite a bit of difference. And the last piece to color on this Santa is the little bag he's holding, or the big bag he's holding. And I'm just doing that in browns. Now I will repeat the darkest brown in the chimney as well, but I'm adding a ton of redder browns too. Now for bricks with colored pencils, I am not going to be shading all of these individually. It doesn't make any sense to shade them individually anyway. So I trace over the lines first with my darkest pencil, and then just do the shading like I would on a flat object or on an object without any texture to it. And then for the snow, I go in with a very light blue first, then with a slightly brighter blue. I just use two different blues and then some white. And I do the same for the snow on the chimney there. And I also add some highlights with that white gel pen again. I am also going to use the white gel pen. I've used it quite a lot in this coloring process. I'm also going to use it for some snow. Now for the snow, I want to point out that I learned something that should have been super obvious, but I learned it from Sandy Alnock. If you're creating a snow scene, you really want some snow in front of your images as well. And I did that, but I made sure to not have as much snow in front of my images, because if you have snow in the sky, you see more snow because you can see further in the sky. Over your images, there's going to be less snowflakes. And that finishes up the card really. I just glued that onto a top folding card base, and then I folded an envelope with my We Are Memory Keepers 123 punch board out of some patterned paper that I thought would go quite nicely with this card. I reinforced the score lines with my bone folder and glued it together with the Barely Art Precision Craft Glue. And that's it. A really clean and simple Christmas card, but I love the coloring on this. It's been quite a while since I've done no-line coloring, but I think it worked out pretty well. I'm really happy I did some no-line coloring again, and I hope you like it too. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video and leave your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to read them. You can also subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of my videos, and if you want to see something extra, you can also check out the Crafty Meraki Instagram, where I do a live crafting session every Saturday. There's probably going to be some gaps there with the holidays coming up, but usually I'm over there every Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, which is midnight for my fellow Europeans. If you want to have a wild Saturday night watching me craft and chatting with me, I would love for you to join those sessions as well. If you can't wait for me to post a new video, check out some of the playlists I have over on my channel. I will link one right here that you can click on and watch some more no-line coloring videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.